Hey there, this is Red. Today we're going to do a Red playthrough. So what we're going to do right now is in episode 0, and what I plan to cover in episode 0 is how to set up for the game, and then the following episodes will be playthroughs of the actual game. So today we're going to cover Enchanters. Enchanters is a game I picked up off of Kickstarter. I actually have the base Enchanters plus some of the expansions, and in this setup we're just going to do very base game. We're not going to use the overlords or the cooperative mode. So this is going to be a standard two-player game of Enchanters, and I'll discuss some of the differences if you were to play 3 or 4 players. All right, so let's get started. Move my Enchanters book out of the way here, and let's see. First thing to start with will be help cards. So the base game came with a couple of handy dandy help cards. One of them has some iconography on it. You can see it tells you monster cards, dragon cards, item cards, enchantment cards, what the different icons in the game mean. Very handy. And there's also a help card that tells you the different steps and the setup for the game. So these are handy to have out there. Also, we're going to play a 2-player game. So in a 2-player game, players start with a fist, but they don't start out with 2 fists. You're one-handed, so you get 1 fist of enchanting and a fist of enchanting. So this is your fist, which is an item card, and they all have these great little flavor text at the bottom of there, which is unique on most of the cards. So you have a fist of enchanting. All right, that's my starting setup for this player and starting setup for this player. Now you'll need to track how much attack and defense you have, because as you improve your item in your enchantment over the game, you will get more powerful. You start off with a big old 0 on each of them, because your Fist of Enchanting isn't very powerful. But as you move through the game, you can use these to track where you're at. So now I have 4 attack and maybe 3 defense, which will make it easier when you fight monsters. All right, so there's my players and my tracks. What you will also need is you will need some monies. So money is used in the game to help with abilities. You can use your gems to pay for ability costs, or when the journey track comes out, to go further down the journey track, it actually costs money to journey further out in order to do that thing. So each player is going to start with 5. So I'm going to hand out 5 gems to each player. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, and 1. Oh, that's a couple of 3s. 2, 3, 4, 5. If I can get a hold of it, 5 there. All right, so players have their starting stuff. Next thing we need to figure out is where it is that we're going to adventure at. The game comes with a variety of locations, and you get to pick and choose which one, or you could randomly decide which one that you want. Here we see Old Hunter's Keep, Cave of Fools, and the Port. Looking at them, I think I'll go with the Port this game. You need to check these as you get ready to play the game. Like if I were to look at the Cave of Fools here, the Cave of Fools says right here that players start with 25. So that can change how the game plays and how the game starts. So rather than 5 coins, we'd have 25, right? But we're playing with the Port. If I look at the Port, what the Port says is for 2 coins, I can get an extra attack, and I can do that multiple times during my turn. Extra attack value, not I can attack 2 things. Also, it says when I do my rest action, there are 2 things that I could do. One is I can get 3 coins if I take a rest action. The other is if I rest action and discard an item card, I get 5 coins, so more money by burning item that I'm possibly not using anymore and is buried in my stack. The other thing to look at is at the end of the card, I can see here there's some victory points. So if for every 5 gems I have at the end of the game, I get a victory point, which is kind of handy. What we'll generally get victory points from is monsters that you defeat, and some items will give you victory points too. But having a little bonus of victory points at this location is nice and kind of changes the conditions of the game, because I might want to hoard some money at the end of the game, which would normally not get me anything. One of the things I don't want to hoard at the end of the game is blood tokens. So this is damage. So these are the monsters wounding you during the game or other effects. These are actually negative victory points during the game. So you want these victory points, these will take away from your victory points at the end. All right, so we've got a location, we've got our starting Fist of Enchanting, we've got some money. The last thing we need to figure out is our journey track, the monsters that we're going to go against, and the possible items and enchantments that we can get. The way that's done is you can just go to your box and pick out what you want to play with, or there's a randomizer stack that you can use to decide things. So I believe these are angels. Like if I pull this out, then I would then go grab the angels out of the box. Now, when you grab your cards out of the box, what will happen is there will be some cards that on the backs, they're just a normal back, and some will have a 2 in the lower corner of the card. So for example, this card right here has got a 2 in the lower corner of the card. If you are playing a 2-player game, you only get the cards that have 2s on them. If you're playing a game that has 3 or 4 players, you're going to grab the whole stack of cards to shuffle up, and you're going to get 4 of those. So for what I'm going to do here, we're going to play with some nasty gnolls. We're going to play with some crazy cultists. We'll play with greedy goblins and unstable unicorns. All right, so these will be the 4 decks that I have to journey through and get items and fight monsters from. So I've done is I've actually pre-grabbed those, just the 2 cards for each of those 4 decks. I have them all shuffled right here into my master deck that I will journey through. So what I need to do next is I take a look at how many players are playing. So in this case, we are playing 2 players. I'm going to take, of the 2 players, I'm going to multiply that by 3, so 6. What I'm looking for is 6 item and enchantment cards. If we were at 3 players, it would be 9. If we were at 4 players, it would be 12. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from the top, or it doesn't really matter, but I'm going to go from the top, and I'm going to take a look for 6 item or enchantment cards. I'm going to put my item enchantments here. I'm going to put my monsters and dragons if I run across them over here. So my first one is a monster. It's going to go over there. Then I've got, that's an enchantment. Got a monster. I've got a item, a monster, a item, a monster. Ooh, red dragon, mean. Another monster, an item, another monster. Ooh, there's the gray dragon. There's another monster and item. I'm up to 5. I need 6 as the magic number. There's 6. All right, so now I take the monster stack. I'm going to shuffle it up. And I will put it at the bottom of the journey deck. And by putting it at the bottom of the journey deck, what I am doing is saying that as we get to the end game is going to be stacked with monsters, which is good because you want to be fighting at the end game. At the beginning of the game, you have these items. I'm going to shuffle these up, and these items are what you get to empower yourself throughout the game. So we're going to start our journey track here, and our journey track is going to be 6 deep. So if this was a 3 or 4 player game, you would drop 6 of these out here, and then the rest of them would go on top of the deck as you prime the deck for enhancements at the beginning of the game. All right, the last thing that I like to do to help prepare for a game is these have costs the further you go down into the track. And to help me remember what those costs are, usually I grab some coins and throw them out here. So I know that leather armor is going to cost me 1. So this is a free to grab. This one's going to would cost me 1 coin to go that deep. It cost me 2 coins to go here. 3 coins to go there. 4, I'm saying coins, gems. We have little tokens that look like coins with gems on them. So it cost me 5 gems to go there and get the flail. All right, so with that, I'm ready to go. I've got my Fist of Enchanting. I've got my 5 gems, track my attack and defense. I've got my location. I've got my base journey set out, and I've got my deck of cards to go with. So I am ready to play now. So I'm going to stop here with this episode. Tune into episode 1. We'll actually go through this game, and we'll see how it turns out. Thanks for watching this episode. Please leave any comments or suggestions you have below. If you like this episode, make sure to click on that like button And you can click on the crazy jackalope to stay up to date with any new content that rolls out.